We've got mics now. I've got a mic on every row, so we're, yeah.
Yeah, that was the only,
Yep,
that was the
yep.
only thing that I heard.
We good? Okay, all right. All right. All right, well, everybody will stand, we'll just pledge allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Awesome. All right. Just kind of give you some things that have happened since the last meeting. I did have a conversation with Larry Klein, who's the son who lives in Wisconsin, and just talking about, what we're trying to accomplish. And so, one of the questions he's asking is about what properties do we want to buy? So what I've kind of got listed is what I think we agreed to last time, but we need to kind of firm up some of the acreage as to what is the group want to recommend to the homeowners or property owners. I always want to say homeowners. I have in here the proposal. I told you that Kenny Zell had recommended maybe turning the fifth hole on the lake into a par 3, which would give you some development rights. I don't know if there should be a map in here for you. It's basically between 5, 8, and 9 on the lake. Give you a big chunk of land there, and I can't remember how many lots but quite a few lots that you'd be able to put in that area. So, obviously, the more development land you give back to the Kleins, the less we should have to pay for, the recreational district land. So anyways, also in there is a map of the land around the clubhouse, some of which we could also sell or not, that the recreation district would not need. So at that point, I guess we need to kind of come to a consensus as to what, those are the two kind of recommendations that have come forward. Is there any, so now we got to go back to does that sound reasonable? So turning the fifth hole into a par 3, giving that development land back to the Kleins. Also some land around, and there's a map in there of the land, or somewhere around the land around the clubhouse. We don't need all that parking, so just give them some of that land back. And then, so is that, everybody okay with that? Any questions?
6 and 7 stay the same?
What's that?
6 and 7
Yes.
stay the same?
Everything else would be a par 71 instead of yeah. Yeah, we try to, we've got 6 or 7 microphones. If everybody could wait till they get a mic. That was the one complaint we had about last week's meeting, is they could hear us at the front, but not the folks out there asking questions. So, everybody good with that? Is that, yes?
Mayor, the only thing I would suggest is, spoke to one of my neighbors, and they brought up the golf course, driving range, and I know the issue was discussed about we could have a water range, but did want to mention, I told him I would mention at the meeting that he felt it was a big plus for drawing people to the golf course to have putting green, chipping green, something along somewhere in the area, because many golfers don't only come play golf, but they'll do practice before and after playing, or he even mentioned might draw the Apopka high school kids or other young people that would enhance the golf course.
Well, I think you'd keep the putting green at the clubhouse. I think that would stay there. I mean, I hadn't really thought we would get rid of that. Now, driving range obviously takes a lot of land, and that's which
That should be the water.
yeah. But I understand. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Any other comments, and then we'll get into the other 3, which I guess are more I don't know, controversial, but something to talk about. That'd be 9, 1, and 2.
Yeah, sorry, just a question on the development.
Speak up. Yeah, you're on the front row, you'll be all right.
How's that, better?
I think you're fine taking your mask off in the front row.
Okay, how's that? A little
Yes.
better? So just a question on development. Do we have any restrictions on the type of development, or are those all single-family? What are they?
The ones, I think they're townhomes, the ones where the driving range is currently, I think is the way they've got it set up. So the development's kind of going off the old Signature 8 on the areas where they've given that land up. So, for instance, the land, you've got the land on the other side of Vic Road, we wouldn't have any control. We don't have any control over any of the land that we leave to the Kleins. They're just bound by the agreement, which says that, like, they can't build and past 49 units until we've got a clubhouse and a golf course, based on the PUD we have currently. And so one of the things that if we make major adjustments to the PUD, this is kind of a weird deal, because we got the developers of the lots here, and we got the recreation district here, and coming together to fulfill the PUD requirements, okay? And so trying to get that, so that everybody's on the same page, but the developer cannot build until the recreation district, start on the 9 holes of the Highland and build the clubhouse. Yes, Mark?
It has to be a golf course then? It can't be anything other than a golf course?
That's the way it's set up now, and so if you wanted to go back and redo the PUD, we need to get these mics, guys, everybody please, if we can wait till we get a mic. Then we'd have to go back to Tallahassee and see, that's the whole process. We'd have to make a change of it's a large scale amendment, go to Tallahassee and then come back. So it extends the amount of time it would take. But yeah, you could do it, yes, it would take additional time.
So are we on a specific timeline then? If we were to say, we don't see it being a golf course right now, maybe down the road, but if we wanted recreational trails and some other type of green space, that would have to take time to go to Tallahassee and make that change?
Yes. Yes.
You talked about we don't need the whole parking lot, but we also talked about extending some of the clubhouse for income purposes, for larger gatherings and parties and weddings and things like that. Are we making a mistake by giving up some of the parking if we're planning to use the clubhouse for larger venues?
I'm just trying to put something out there. I don't think we'd need all that parking. That parking, I've never, ever seen it full. So I think we could, and if you look at the diagram, it's not much. Some of the land would be on Errol Parkway. There's 5 lots on Errol Parkway, and then there's some higher density housing on Golf Course Drive, I'm sorry, Golf Course Drive.
Right.
So that would be about all that it would take. So you'd still have the majority of the parking would still be there. Okay.
In addition to that, based on the size of the structure, there'll be a minimum number of both public as well as handicap parking that will be required for the development of the facility as well.
Yeah, they'll have to still meet the city standards, whatever that is, for that kind of a venue. Okay. All right, so now the next question that we get down to is then Grove 9, 1, and then Grove 2 and 3. Is that something, I know we talked about, and I guess there was a pretty big overwhelming response that they wanted some walking trails, which 2 and 3 would make the most sense only because they're the lowest land probably that's out there that would be less than desirable as far as development, but any thoughts? Yes, yeah, grab a mic. Yeah.
All right, the
the Grove course, we've been looking into some different things of like disc golf and
Yes.
foot golf, and it's getting really big. Disney just converted part of their golf course to foot golf and have certain days and everything. There's probably 150 some clubs around Florida that don't have anywhere to go. There's only about, a bunch of farmers are turning areas into it, but they can't do tournaments there. But I was thinking the Grove course, these two, disc and foot golf, both are shorter than regular golf, so you could like cut the area down. But it's not really good for them to develop because it's lowlands, and we might be able to pick it up cheaper and then do something like that for families. A lot of families get into that. A whole family can go out and do disc golf or foot golf.
Yeah, I know that Rock Springs Ridge had that going, and it was not a success. I'm not saying it wouldn't be at Errol, but they were not successful at all at Rock Springs Ridge. But, I mean, the question is, you could use the land for anything you wanted. If you said that's important that we keep, 2 and 3, I think those would be the easiest, and for me, or I think for everybody, would be the least valuable to the clients as far as development, because they're so low. When you get like to number 9 on the Grove, because that's higher and drier, there's more development rights, possibilities there than there would be on 2 and 3. But you just have to weigh, because we're gonna run in, I think some of us have champagne taste and a beer pocketbook, so we just gotta be careful, as we look at what we're trying to do, is that we can afford it, because, at some point, we gotta back into a number that you're willing to pay, and that 51% of the folks out there in the community are willing to pay to have this thing pass. So I think there's a balancing act on what you want and what you can afford. And I'm not, what I'm gonna try to do, as my wife told me last week, she told me, she says, Brian, this isn't, you don't live in Errol, so you're not in charge of this. I said, well, she's right. I'm going to try to be as unbiased and neutral as I can be. Just try to manage the conversations we have here tonight. But so it's totally up to you what you want to do. But I think you've got in the back of your mind, you got to remember that I got to get 51% of the people in Errol to vote for this.
Have the Kleins, you mentioned, Mayor, that you had a discussion, have they given any indication as to what they would like to have? Or they just left it with anything that's buildable? Or are they leaving that up to us to go to them? It's kind of a chess match, it seems, in some way.
My honest opinion, I don't think they realize that what we're taking on is the liability, and what we're leaving them with is the asset. I think they've got to come to a better realization that you guys are basically paying for the amenities. Obviously, they'll have whatever number of lots they get, they'll also pay. And they're getting the benefit of a lot that's now more valuable because you got a golf course and you've got the amenities that you don't have now. So I think, and I also had a conversation with somebody that's kind of been helping them, and he says, well, you don't even have any price in there for the land. I said, well, I don't know what the value of the land is, but it's obviously we have to come up with what you want, and then we go to the clients and say, okay, here's what we want, and you price that land based on the liability that you're taking on versus what you're leaving them with, which are the lots to sell.
And I think that's where Grove 2 and 3, if we take that on, it depends obviously on the price that they want to sell that
Yes.
for, because it's just going to be walking trails. There is no return on investment. It's
Correct.
just quality of life.
Yes.
It's just, we get to walk around it. If it was all green space, like some have suggested, and do no golf course, there's zero return on investment, and we're still paying quite a huge amount of money just to maintain it or turn it into green space, because then you have to start maintaining the paths, the foot trails, garbage, If you have a doggy walk or whatever, they have to have stations for all that, all along the way. There's going to have to be somebody maintaining it, somebody's mowing it, somebody's making sure that we're not going to get sued if something isn't in its right place. So I don't think necessarily leaving it as green space is going to be any really less expense. I think we're still going to pay the same amount for the land. We just won't have any return on investment because there are opportunities with a golf course to make, return on investment. So 2 and 3, do we need it? Do we want it? Kind of depends on how much it costs.
And maybe we could do is ask as an à la carte is, okay, what we have to have is the golf course and the clubhouse, the smaller footprint of the clubhouse. If we want, maybe I can say, okay, Klein family, we'd like to say, price out 2 and 3, because I think that would be probably one price, and then price out 9 and 1 if you wanted to look at, because you could use 9 or 1 if you needed to for a smaller, if you want to do a driving range. You could do anything you wanted with 9 and 1, but it's high and dry land that could also be developed. So if you'd like, we could just try to have them price it out that way. Does that sound reasonable?
That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, so we need to get a mic. We should have, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So I've been doing a lot of research. I've talked to environmentals, engineers, and stuff like that based on some of the things that were said in the last meeting. And I think before we start looking at what land we want to purchase and stuff, I think the clients need to first look into an environmental study, because if it has been any abandoned diesel tanks, that's the cost of a golf course, and that'll be on us. It's basically, I was told, buyer beware. There's no protections for us to come back. We'd have to be paying like $3 to $4 million to remedy that, on top of continuous testing by the EPA. So they need to provide that testing to us, up-to-date testing, not what Signature H did, because they've kind of let. The example I give of what they've done is say you buy a $500,000 house, beautiful interior and everything, and then you don't take care of the plumbing. Then mold starts growing. Then you don't take care of the yard. Everything starts going haywire, and then you want to put it back to market. Can you sell it for the same amount? You can't, because there's a lot of renovations that need to be done and stuff. That's what's left with the golf course. And I looked up in the property appraiser how much they paid for the golf course, and that's when it was a functioning golf course. So if they expect anything close to what they even paid for it.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, sorry, I was on a call with the client.
So, no, due diligence on environmental is absolutely a paramount. I mean, you can't buy something without an environmental. So
Yeah.
the golf course wouldn't need it, but if anything that we, if you like the walking trails, would probably need to get environmental, study done, I guess, what's the levels?
EPD would be.
There's the,
all,
phase one, and
Yeah.
maybe even phase 2.
phase
Anyway,
one
but you're right, that would be absolutely part of the due diligence. So, all right, so, yeah, Mark?
Just out of curiosity, why wouldn't you do the golf course also? If something were to happen down the road that this
You
doesn't
could-
work and they want to come back and change it,
Yeah, I mean, you could,
we'd need to know if we're investing in property that's environmentally damaged.
yeah, right, no, you'd want
And
to do
then
environmental in
if
the
we
whole
wanted
thing.
to sell it, it'd be on us to clean it up before we had
Correct,
to,
correct,
we could do anything
yes.
else in the recreational
A
district.
level, I think what the mayor was speaking of, a minimum of a level 1 environmental assessment would need to be done on the entire property, all of it, first. And that would give you a determination if it would require a level 2 investigation based
Yeah.
upon the level 1.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what the direction that would, in my opinion, would have to be done prior to any talk of acquisition of the property.
Yeah. Yes.
Hi.
Yeah.
Were you acknowledging me? Thank
Yeah.
you. I sent an email to the email address that
You need to
was
use the mic.
available. Yes, I sent an email to the email address that was made available. When I spoke to the city clerk, she said that I could pose a question in that way. I don't see on the agenda how we're addressing the voting process. And I don't know if you've already addressed
Well,
that, but
No, we're not voting, this is not a voting.
I understand we're
body.
not voting tonight. But I
Correct.
understand that the recreation district
Correct.
requires a vote.
Correct.
From
And
the
you
whole
mentioned that it
community.
requires 51%. And I'd like to understand, with that in mind, how will the petition regarding the creation of the district be presented to the voters?
Okay, well, when we get, when we get done with the meeting tonight, and I get, I'll do the minutes of the meeting tonight, I'll put in your packet that'll go out to all the members of the committee, she's not on the committee, but anyway, it will be on the website, the statutes as it pertains to recreation district. So it'll be, probably by Friday, you'll have that, it'll be on the,
And I'm familiar with that,
Yeah.
Florida Statute 418.
yes,
That was mentioned at
Yes.
the June meeting.
yes.
What I don't understand is, how will the voters be able to vote? Will
They'll
it be on the
vote.
ballot?
They'll
Or will
vote.
it be sent to their homes?
I
Well,
haven't
I
gotten,
could've-
I haven't gotten with Bill
Hasn't
Cowles
been
yet, so I don't know.
Okay.
Bill Cowles is the supervisor of elections.
And do you know, will it go to homeowners and renters?
No,
Each
it'll only
individual?
be property owners,
Only property owners?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so everybody, does it feel like we'll do everything here with the à la carte on Grove 9, Grove 1, Grove 2, and 3? Is everybody good with that? Anybody got something they'd rather do, something they don't? Okay, all right. Okay, so that gives us kind of where we're going as far as property. Just wanted to have you in there, just so you saw, I've had three interested parties talk about, would like to bid at some point on the redesign of the golf course. Obviously, Kenny Zell lives, on Errol Parkway. Steve Smyers, that's the group that did the Signature H proposal. And then somebody had recommended Keith Reb, I guess that's how you say it? Okay, Keith Reb as an alternative. Okay. Yeah. Got a mic? Yes.
I wanted to propose a company, CFL Golf.
You might do what?
Wanted to propose another company, CFL Golf.
Okay, sure. If you can just give me the information, just send it to us, we'll put that, yeah, just so we got everybody.
To the same Errol email address? Send
Yes,
that to? Okay.
yep, that'll work.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, before we go into developments, well, that's just for information, who have existing amenities. Budget, I guess we're going into the capital cost. Everybody take a look. And is there anything we're missing? Just take a look at those and
Brian?
Yeah.
On the clubhouse, the 14,000 square feet, what does that encompass? And I know it's a ballpark, but I mean, is that the clubhouse, the restaurant, is that everything
Yes.
contained? And so so is that based on, I'm assuming there's some kind of assumption as the restaurant would seat X amount of people and the banquet space would be X amount or something like
Yeah, I
that,
think
ballpark?
Yeah, I think what Dale had last was that the large clubhouse, and I've added 2,000 additional feet to it. So it was 12 is what he had kind of laid out. And I just went a couple thousand square feet extra. So it'd be a 14,000. And then I took, anyway, came up with $200 a square foot. So $3 million. That's how I got to 3 million. 14,000 times 200 a square foot and so,
I think my question is more about how's that 14,000 ballpark divvied out? How's it
Were we gonna
utilized?
do
How much of
phases like we
it,
just
how much
did
of
with
it's
the
clubhouse, how much of it's restaurant, how much of it's banquet space or whatever?
I think it was one would be banquet, or not half, but it'd be banquet about the same size as your
As the
member or
as
whatever.
everything is.
And then a small, I didn't bring that, they had whatever he brought to us was kind of the layout. I just added a couple thousand square feet. So wasn't anything real complicated on that. So let's see, trying to think who,
Mayor, as a suggestion, I would recommend that when we go through the permitting process,
yeah.
that we do go ahead and add an extra couple thousand square feet for future development if we need it.
Okay.
If we don't, it just sits there anyway.
Yeah,
But at least you have that opportunity, the permit has been done.
right.
And you don't have to go back and re-permit that.
Right, yeah. I mean, Norm's been a big help and with, you know, kind of getting us that, yes, Frank?
What's the status of the old golf carts? Are they in storage, or do they sell them, or what?
I-
Because
no
that's gonna be a
idea.
huge expenditure,
It-
replacing all those
I,
golf.
they're gone, I'm
They're
sure.
gone?
Yeah.
They probably had them on our lease.
Most courses lease.
Yeah,
Very
so-
few buy carts
Yeah.
anymore.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, anyway, these are the numbers. I know Norm helped me out with the pool and the clubhouse. Ken Nizell helped me with the golf course renovation. Tennis courts, that's a company that we use to redo our courts out at, Northwest. I think that number's way too high. I don't know that they need to be. I think you could grind them down and put a new top, yeah, yes, Norm? Where's a mic?
It's not
Yeah,
on.
speak loud.
It's not on.
He's on, I thought.
Okay, just so you know, I arranged a meeting with Varsity Courts for Tuesday morning next week,
Okay,
and we're gonna look at this to see
Okay.
what would be the most cost-effective way to do the tennis courts.
okay.
Now, you wanna add for the, those other two, what do you call that?
Pickleball. No, what you would do is you take the one of the courts and just turn it, and you'd have to turn that into 4 pickleball courts. So you wouldn't add any, the footprint would be identical.
Okay.
So all it is a resurface if you can do that versus the folks that did the one at Northwest wanted to go down and redo the whole base which I don't think you needed. I mean,
That's what Dennis, who's the owner of that company, said, that he didn't feel it was necessary to demo the
Okay.
existing.
Yeah.
So you're saying we don't have to add any footage?
correct.
Okay. And then will that still provide enough courts for league play, or are we not worried about that?
That 5 will give you enough. 6 is always, you know, leagues take 5 courts, so you won't have any for outside play, but, I mean, if you wanted to add that one, yeah. Bob, let me, Norm
it.
swap with Bob there. That one's not
It
working.
wasn't on.
Yeah. Go ahead, ask a question again. Ask a question again, Norm.
I had no more
Oh,
questions.
okay, so anyway, so so league play takes 5 courts, so 6 court gives you one, so somebody that wants to, you know, play with their kids while there's a match going on, they could still play. So this would give you no additional, courts for any outside play other than that, when that league is playing.
I see. So you're saying that we can use the same court
Configuration.
for the,
Yes,
forget what you call it
so
now.
you'd be five tennis courts and 4 pickleball. Yes. Okay, so does anything else here? Yeah, hey, Mark.
Yeah, Brian, I'm just curious on the operating losses of $500,000. Are there management fees included in that for managing the clubhouse, for managing the restaurant, for managing the tennis court, for managing the golf course, for all those other management costs? Where do those come in, or who's going to cover that?
Well, I've got just operating losses for the first 3 years, because I know you have to have some reserves. I know that Bob sent me one, and who else sent me, you sent me Dub Shred, I think.
No, I sent you the National Golf Foundation to study.
Okay, I've got, in your packet, you should have gotten, there's 3 golf courses, I think there's some operating, it's not in here, no, it's not in here, because it was a big packet. It's on the website, and it's also, so go to the website if you want to pull it up. There's some operating costs for Dub Shred. There's a couple other courses that are included there that go into a lot of depth as to,
Yeah, I did.
you know, so take a look at those.
Does the city of Orlando manage Dub's Dread? Who manages it? Who manages Dub's
Yes,
Dread? Who-
Orlando does manage it.
Orlando manages Dub's Dread. Would Apopka manage
No.
Errol?
No,
Who's going to manage it?
whoever y'all want. I mean, it's your course. It's your clubhouse, it's your course, it's,
And so what's that cost?
well, that's what I'm saying. Look at the, I mean, they've got a management company. I don't think Orlando does a lot. I think most of it's like, for instance, Steve Gunner, who owns or leases Dubstred. So he takes care of that. I'm sure they have a golf course company that takes care of the maintenance of the golf course. I'm sure Orlando doesn't do it. Right, so I think so it's all in the Orlando budget. Take a look at the Orlando budget that's in that, it's on the website.
So all of those are included in the 500,000
No.
operating losses?
What's that?
All of those are included in the $500,000
I just picked a
operating
number.
losses?
I'll be quite honest, I just picked a number. I'm thinking 500,000 would be,
But that's not part of capital cost.
no, it's not, well,
It really isn't a,
well, you have to have it, you have to have money set aside for,
for those losses.
yeah, yes, some. You need to get a mic. What other recreations? No.
It's not that we can't hear you, it's the people on the
Yeah, they're
internet
listening
can't hear
in.
you. Can't hear you.
I don't think they want to hear me. But have we called other recreational districts to see what their experience has been like? Because I've researched some of them, and with 2 years in, some of them have requested dues increase, or however you say it, and stuff like that. My one concern with the golf course is we've tried this over and over and over again, and we're proposing kind of the same thing that's failed over and over and over again, and it's a huge expense to the recreational district. So I just want to make sure if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right, because I plan on staying in Errol for a very long time, and it would just be devastating to have this closed down again,
Yeah.
or our dues continuously increase for something that just isn't successful.
Well, the thing is, we have 2,500 homes represented in Errol Estate. And if we have $12 million and we service that for 30 years at 4%, that's $23 per household per month for 2,500 homes, okay? And then once you have, yes, if we have a management company managing it, greens fees and things like that will also cover a lot of that maintenance.
Well, so we hope.
And
The golf
costs.
courses have been failing all around Florida. The interest in golf is failing. I mean, it's not a profitable business.
We're not trying to, there shouldn't be a return on investment necessarily, other than the
Agreed.
quality of life. We're not in it for profits. We're in it to break even, basically, so that it adds housing and whatnot for individual houses and for quality of life, where you have,
But will we break even? I mean, I
Well, I
think a
mean,
big
we
thing.
don't,
Well, we
nothing's
can't look at a
for
crystal
sure.
ball.
But
So, like,
Kenny Zell owns the course right over here that he's making good money, as Norm would tell you, he's making good money. And he's one of the guys that's bidding on the golf course,
Okay.
redesign. So,
Do they
I
host a
wouldn't-
lot of events there? Is that where it makes them profit?
no.
I'm just trying to figure
Makes
out the
zero
business
money. It's
model.
only
Okay.
golf. Clubhouses don't make money. They're
Yeah.
probably, but
Okay.
we're,
But I think Mark has a good point. I haven't seen that either on the website, so that's a good idea to go look at those cost divided management.
Right.
But it would be good if we had some general management numbers
okay.
for people to see, because he's right. I mean, that's an expense somehow.
Right, I mean, it's, but you gotta plug in how many rounds you're gonna.
Exactly, but,
so
greens
it's,
fees and costs.
right.
And rounds
I
of
mean,
golf.
hopefully that, negates at least, but a ballpark figure would
Right.
be useful.
Right,
One thing that I provided the mayor, I did some research as well myself. The National Golf Foundation, which is a highly reputable company that does studies of golf courses, some that have gone defunct and people want to redo them, and they're 100% accurate and honest with the work that they provided. And if they come back and say, hey, it may not be in your best interest to build a golf course, I'd rather know that now than down the road. I think it certainly warrants looking at the possibility of maybe having them do a study for us. There is a cost associated with the study. The study will give us revenue numbers, operating expenses, everything that's come up as discussion in this room. The study will cost $24,000. But they're a company that is highly used by the golf industry throughout the world, and they know their business when it comes to golf.
Okay. We're gonna take this one more question, but this is for the members of the task force. I know you're not on the task force, so we're just trying to keep this, to this group so we don't get, we could get, 300 people, and then all of a sudden we got a crisis on it. But go ahead and ask one more question, and then we'll ask you to just, be happy to listen in. But I've had plenty of people call and wanted to come to the meeting, and I just said, listen, we're trying to do a social distancing, and so we requested you to listen on YouTube. And if you got any questions after, we'd be happy to, send them to the, the Recreation District, and we'll be happy to try to answer them for you. But go ahead.
Thank you. On the agenda, there's a list of the communities that already have amenities.
Yeah, right now we're on the capital cost.
I understand that, but when you made the assessment as to how many homeowners were going to be contributing, it didn't sound to me that you're anticipating that any of these communities that already have amenities may not be voting. So I'm just wondering how you're building a budget without knowing how you're going to get your actual
Well, that's why this
income.
group is here,
That's right.
to discuss this.
Yeah, that's part
This
of
is
the.
made up of homeowners, so
I
we're all
understand.
discussing that.
Yeah.
Nobody's shoving anything down anybody's throat. Everybody's going to get a vote. And so we're just trying to figure out all the details so we can bring it to fifth hole and find out how much is it? Can we afford it? Do we even want it after we hear the number they give us? But we do have to have a plan in place to take to them to even have a shot at taking over the property. If we don't take over the property, then it's completely out of our hands and we get whatever they put in. Whatever gets put in, that's what we live with. So the homeowners have taken this on in order to see if this is something we can do. Is it possible? Is it feasible? Nobody's going to be shoved down anybody's throat because we have to have 51% of the vote. So everybody's going to have a chance to vote. Have to. It's made up of homeowners. We're all homeowners other than the mayor. So we're all homeowners. We're all in this together. And some may or may not want it even that are in here. I don't even know how many people exactly want it or who's against it. But we have to knock out all the details so we can send this over to fifth hole. Then we'll know what we have. At this point, we don't even know what we have. We're really moving forward. This is just the beginning stages. And I'm on Next Door, and I'm Darren Yates, so you may see me all over Next Door trying to answer questions. But, a lot of this is just, we just got to see the process through before we, I tell everybody, take a deep breath. We're just in the beginning phases. We're not going to shove anything down anybody's throat. If Errol does not want this, then you won't get it. If you're not part of the 51% and you're forced to pay it, that's just the democracy that we live in. 51% get to choose, and you can either move or you have to pay the $50 a month. It's just the way it's going to be. So we just kind of have to move at the pace that it takes in order to get the process completed. We're not, again, I know there's a lot of passion about this, and I see it constantly online. And there's passion on both sides of it. But we're trying to do the due diligence to make sure we aren't making a mistake because all of our properties depend on the right decision being made.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I appreciate you acknowledging the list of homeowners that do have amenities, so thank you.
Okay,
Right.
all right.
So, Brian?
Yes.
Sorry.
And I'm in Parkside, which is one of the
Go
ones
ahead.
on
Yes,
the
ma'am.
chopping block.
There.
Just real quick on the capital costs.
Sure.
You just wanted to know, I don't see architectural or insurance fees.
Well, that's not a capital cost.
Yeah, that's an expense, okay.
That'd be an
don't-
operating.
Okay, got it.
And that may answer my question. I don't see the golf cart lease. So I guess that's not capital since we wouldn't own it, but it would be an expense.
Right,
obviously.
electricity, I mean, all those
Right.
operating costs, food costs, and obviously if you're hoping you're making a profit on food, but the clubhouse as a whole is not gonna make money.
Right,
Even, the good news is by everybody being a member, you're probably gonna use the clubhouse more than you would had you not been a member. So, could we make money? Yes, but I don't think you don't wanna build our budget around making a profit. But I think, as Darren said, if we get 2,000 homes to buy in, it's $23 a month for the $12 million.
And we're talking $50 a month that we're charging.
Yeah.
So that leaves $750,000 for operating
A
costs.
loss every year.
For losses, for all of that. So it's already built in. We really only need $23 a month, but it's at $50 a month in order to cover those deficits and whatnot in it. One other thing is, if we start cutting out too many homes, then we have to start cutting out amenities. That's how it's
Or
gonna
you have
work.
to raise the price.
Or we have to raise the
which
price
then-
on
then
who's
makes it
left.
harder to.
So I know people are like, oh, I don't want to be part of it. At the same time, that means we'll just keep losing less and less. Pretty soon we just have a golf course and a country club. That's it. And whoever's left over, they have to really like golf. You gotta have a microphone. if
What's
you're
that?
gonna speak.
No, you gotta get a mic.
You have to have a
gotta get
microphone. I think she needs to keep one. That's good.
Is there any way to have the developer develop the clubhouse and we lease it out from them since they're already going to be building in the area
Well,
to
I mean,
help with building
that's
costs?
what we wanted them to do. We wanted them to buy the whole property and then just carve out the recreation district. That would have been the simplest. I mean, this
Yeah.
is, because you're gonna have basically two simultaneous sales from the Klein family, one to the recreational district and one to the developer. And so what I go back to, I keep saying is that the land that you're buying is a liability to the developer. The developer, by you buying this, gives him more value because he doesn't have to buy the amenities which are required under the PUD we have currently.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, I wouldn't mind if we leased it from them and somehow put a proposal together that, us as a community would do that. I feel like this is kind of,
I don't
know.
think leasing's the way to go because
No.
we put all the
You-
money
you wanna own
into
this.
building it up and then we give it back to
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
You wanna own it.
Leasing's
You wanna
not the
own
way
it.
to go.
Okay, so capital costs, anybody? Yeah, Norm?
Yeah, I like the idea of that feasibility study.
Yes.
The $24,000, who's going to pay for that?
That's a good question.
Well, I was asked to contact, a couple of agencies that may do this service, and when I did my research, this is like the number one company that does it. Their fee is $24,000. We knew coming into this meeting that we had no budget for this, but I think it would be good if we as a community could creatively come up with some alternative sources of funding for this.
And maybe the Kleins would help pay for it. I
And
mean,
I
it
think
would benefit them as
Yeah,
well.
it certainly would benefit them if they would contribute towards the cost of that as well, because they're the ones that will gain the most value out of this.
Hey, Bobby,
Well,
you're
this,
talking to the
I
mic also.
think that.
Oh, I'm
this
sorry.
would be, when it comes time to try to market this to the residents of Errol Estate, to know that this has already been done, and hopefully the results are favorable, that's huge in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, because just think about it, if you can get to where it's just a break even, now all you're gonna have to pay would be the $23 a month to pay the debt cost, and then at some point that goes away, and then you've gotten zero cost. I mean, obviously that'd be the ultimate goal here, is to try to get this thing to cash flow, break even, and then at some point, as you pay down the debt, you could even lower your fees as far as the recreation district.
The only other comment I'll make is, if you go online, the study is online, take the time to read it and look at what they can provide to us in that study. And I think it'll give us a lot more confidence too when it comes to selling it to the community, if you can provide a document like that for them to look at as well.
A question, going back to the 50, 23, whatever it might be. I was asked this question by someone, I didn't know the answer, so I'm not a tax expert or lien expert or any of that, but the question was, would this put a lien on our property?
Yes.
And how exactly does that play out? I mean, selling your house, it's not a big deal there, but I mean, would there be what would be the difficulties or issues with your property, if
Well,
any?
here's how it works, is everybody has Apopka garbage, right? So on the bottom of your tax bill every year, you get a garbage fee at the bottom of your tax bill, your ad valorem tax. I don't know what it's, 200 and, I'm gonna say $220 a year. It would just go on the bottom of your tax bill. Every year you'd get it would be a bill that would say Errol Recreation District, $500. So what makes that helpful is that because it's attached to your property, and if they foreclose on your property, it still stays with the property. So that taxable value or taxable, that tax is bondable, which means we can go to the capital markets and borrow money because they know you're going to pay it.
Gotcha.
They don't, might not be you, might be the bank, might be the guy that buys it from you out of foreclosure, but that money is coming in to pay the recreation district payment.
But that's not a lien
And that was my
on your
explanation.
property. It's not a lien, it's just, if you don't pay it,
Well, it is, I mean,
I
it's
think
property taxes are a lien, I
property
mean.
tax, right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's,
But we have
I
that
think
now.
that was
Yes.
the confusion was someone
think it's an
heard the
extra
term
lien.
lien and got nervous when they heard the
Oh.
term lien. And so,
Right. I'd be
I
trying to
says, well, I'm
dispel that.
sure there's not a lien per se. It's just,
No.
if you don't pay it, a lien can be placed on your.
Just like
correct,
now.
yes, okay, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
just
it's a
tax.
tax.
It's a
Tax,
property
okay.
tax.
Property tax, yes. Okay, anything else, any other questions? So everybody, anything, yeah, Frank? Yes, yeah.
That study of the National Golf Foundation, is that on the
Yes,
rec district thing?
yes.
Yes.
If you
Speak
haven't read
into,
it-
speak in the mic.
If you haven't read it, get it and read it. These guys are the cream of the crop, and they really know their business, and you'll see a bio of all the people that are the principals in this thing, and they've got a history that's enviable. So if we decide to do it, I think we'll be getting very, very credible information, whether to do it or not to do it.
Okay. So, okay, anything else on capital that, I mean, am I missing anything as far as what, yes? What's required?
This, I don't know if this is relevant or not, but what about like grounds maintenance equipment, mowers, all that stuff? Would we lease that or would we buy that? Would it
I'm
be
sure
like an
you'd,
upfront?
you'd lease it. I mean, I'd be under
Okay.
more of
Yeah, yeah.
operating, because it,
Okay, that's what I thought. I
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, okay. All right, so I guess we get down to the next steps. I think, we need to start identifying neighborhoods. I think we
We did a poll on Parkside.
did a poll. You want to go over that then, Darren?
Sure. We did a poll on Parkside because, one, Parkside doesn't live on the golf course. So a lot of those people that moved in weren't necessarily moving in for golf. We do have a pool. We have a tot lot for the kids, more like a slide and nothing, pretty much that's it. And there is some walking trails around a lake and another park with some benches and seating and whatnot that everybody can use toward the front of Errol. But I posed the question, would you vote for Parkside to be part of the Errol Estate Recreation District? And 45% said yes, and 55% said no, out of 101 votes. 425 homes in Parkside, 101. So it looks like we're almost 50%, which is, we need 51% for it to pass. So we kind of have to, what do you want to do with those numbers? Does that necessarily mean, well, Parkside's excluded, or, well, we still have 50% of Parkside that is going to vote yes, and probably 50% they're going to vote no. So it depends on how we want to view each neighborhood based on that type of numbers. And it seems to be pretty consistent throughout the neighborhood. Every time we take a poll, we're pretty much around that 50% mark where people are all for or all against. So we're going to have to decide, do we just include everybody and hope for the best? Or do we say, wow, that's way too many in Parkside to get a 51%, maybe we exclude that? Not to try to jerry-rig the system or try to definitely get a yes, but it shouldn't necessarily cause those who do want it to have the minority make the decision. It is the biggest HOA in Errol Estates. Out of the 31 HOAs, it's the largest.
There's 31, wow. What do you think, Sarah, what's your feel for your?
Well, it's a hard call, because if
just
locker,
pool.
bar. I mean, there's a lot of different amenities I think maybe they aren't thinking about. And if they want to be excluded, then if they do want to use those amenities, they're going to pay a monthly social fee. So it's going to kind of end up to be the same as a wash for the ones that want it. But unfortunately, they will have a set fee for life, where instead of, eventually, the ones that do get it, we might pay it off, it might, go down. So, I don't know, it's a very hard call. Now, I would tend to say include everybody and see what happens, because I personally think it's kind of unfair to the 45% that want it, but it's so close,
Yeah.
and that's almost 50-50.
What do you think, Bob?
I think one of the things that will help us more credible that we can be with providing quality information to this, I'm a firm believer in studies, and because a lot of times I follow up and I check and see percentage-wise if the study is worth the money or not. And usually you can find that out within the first year or two of your operation. If it was 90%, 98%, or whatever percent successful that it is, but you got a good core base of information to work from and look back on to see what's the best avenue for you to move forward as far as your current operation goes, as well as I think it would help us as a tool that we could use to help sell this to the residents, because there's so many unknowns out there right now. Everybody's nervous, they don't feel comfortable with it, but if they had something credible that they could look at and provide that information.
A third party.
Yeah, an outside
Not just,
third
not
party.
just us, coming
Right.
up with.
I think we need a town hall meeting where people can come. I mean, that's the one thing Signature H did right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Was they just beat the drum week after week, 2 days a week, until everybody loved it. And we have zero information. A lot of people that aren't on Nextdoor don't even know what's happening, and then they find out about it, and they're freaking out that I want to vote no, but because I don't want to pay that, or they don't even know what they're getting for it.
Correct.
But they just want to vote no because they, it's the fear factor, and spending more money right now isn't attractive.
And I think, we probably couldn't pick a worse time to be.
It couldn't be a worse time.
Because people are, still
disseminate
worried about their
information.
jobs and their, and so I get that.
When we get to the point where we start having renderings done of the new clubhouse and the course and all the courts and all the amenities and the pool and whatnot, that's when people start to pay attention. And
Yeah, but that
start to
takes money we don't
reassess
have yet.
Their previous decisions, because.
That takes
people
money we
change
don't have
minds
yet.
when they see
Yeah,
what's
see, the problem is who's paying?
Yeah,
how do
who's going to pay for those renderings? We don't have the
I
money
think you
yet.
just got to do a sketch and,
As far as the study goes, would it make sense to go to the Kleins now and
Sure.
say, hey, will you spring for this up front?
yeah, if they want us to
think
sell it, you
anybody-
guys are going to be the ones having to sell this thing if that's what you want. Yeah, I'm happy to call him up and say, hey, listen, here's what we'd like you, he's going to have to do something like that anyway. I mean, I
Yeah,
would think,
anybody.
or the developer's going to have to do it anyway
Yeah.
at some point to, to justify, his, financial, backers, what that looks like.
And my other comment is, I feel that we need to be around that 2,000 resident number.
I do too.
And what Darren said about Signature H, they did, the thing they did best was information. They provided information to everyone. They were always available, always willing. I'm not sure how we would do that in a short amount of time.
Well, it's not only that,
But-
it's the COVID thing. It's just like, so I can't, if I had a community meeting at VFW, what am I going to do? I mean, we got the COVID economy and we got the COVID, public meetings, and they don't.
We tried to delay this. We talked with Fifth Hole. They're pushing this. I don't know, we disseminated the letter on Nextdoor, what they sent to us, but they're the ones that are pushing this timeline. And if Errol wants to control their destiny based, on all that green space, we have to act, otherwise they go outside of it. Whether they have a buyer, whether they could ever sell it, I don't know. They're probably going to have to do the EPA thing. Whoever buys it isn't just going to say, oh, okay, yeah, we'll just take it as is. We're not going to worry about all the remediation and everything else that needs to be done for millions of dollars. I think Fifth Hole is going to be in the same position no matter who buys it, whether it's us or somebody else.
But we also, the other thing is, to get the recreation district, we have to have this by July. So we got to back up from July, we can't, and that means getting a vote, that means getting a vote city council. I mean, so there's still a big process we've got to go through to get it to the point where, because it's got to be in the hands of the property, the tax collector by, I think it's the 1st of August.
It's August?
Yeah. So we got to have it, and it sounds like, a year away, it sounds like it's almost, forever, but time you go through all these steps, because I think you need to have at least 2 community meetings, and then, it might even need 3, and then, then you got to get the vote out, which that's going to take time to make sure it's noticed. I mean, you want this to be a transparent, open, honest, here's everything for you, so that you've got something that everybody has makes an informed decision on.
I got a question about the voting, I know that's a
Sure.
long ways away, but, so if there's 3,000 homes, whatever.
Yeah.
Do we have to have a quorum? I mean, if only 2,000 people even vote, is that a credible vote? Because I know that some people live out of state, I don't know. I know there's quite a few renters I've learned.
I've got it, I'll send you the statute. I don't know whether it's of eligible voters, because that's the thing, is like somebody from Canada, I mean, they're a property owner, even though they don't have a voting,
Or
so-
there's going to be people that live in Errol that won't show up to vote. I
Right,
mean,
so
it's just-
I don't know the answer to that. I know that we want Bill Cowles and his office to help us manage that. And so when we look at when you look at capital costs, I had in there for the legal and bond counsel, part of that's for the actual voting. There's going to be some money spent to make sure that the voting is done right and by, the proper
And you're saying
folks.
that has to be in by August 2021?
Correct.
We're not talking about
Yeah,
August
yeah,
2020.
yeah. Yes.
So-
Because it would go it would go on the tax bill in November of '21.
I didn't want people to think we're
Yes,
talking.
yes. 20
Next month.
Yes,
Because
2021.
we are pushing.
Okay.
I do
Yeah,
want to
sure.
say, Dale is texting us, he's
Yep.
not here, he's up in Georgia. He'd like to say that he thinks Belmont, they're actually, kind of separate, they don't even have an entrance into Errol.
Okay.
There's only 77 homes there, so that was the one neighborhood that he felt might not.
And that's the one on
It's on the very
off
back
of
of
The
Leicester.
8.
Lester, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually 78, because I live in it, so.
Okay,
Is it 78 now? He
Oh,
is.
you are?
okay.
Uh-oh.
So what are your views?
Do you know what the consensus is for your neighborhood?
You've started it? He started the
Oh,
process.
you did?
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to talk about their neighborhood? If you've got any feel for it, or is it, do we don't have enough information? Got a mic?
So I'm from Countryside. I did hand you a letter there when I walked in. We definitely talked about it last week, and we sent out an advisory to the houses around to kind of get some input. Overwhelmingly, people were not interested at this point. So we figured, Countryside's pretty small. I
Countryside?
think there's 61 houses, I believe.
Mhm.
It should be on that paper with the specifics. So it's not a big chunk, and we've never really been a part of Errol per se, quote unquote. We're kind of on the side, actually right under these guys. So just thought it was probably in your best interest to get you that information earlier rather than later.
Yeah, and so we want it right, if there's people we need to opt out, and I go back to this, we just gotta be careful how many we opt out, because at some point, then it becomes unfeasible for who's left. But I think what we'll do is, I don't think we'd make that decision until we get to the community meeting, because it might be that we show them here are the amenities, here's what you're gonna get. Maybe they opt, you know what, maybe you turn 50% of your people around it from a no to a yes. I don't know. And it's not for me to sell. I mean, obviously, I think there's a bunch of people in this room that like for something to happen. So we want them to have that opportunity. But I think for anybody to say no at this point, I think is a little premature. I'm not.
So, and don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
I think everybody was very interested in keeping the community up, and, it's just,
Sure.
we're kind of on the side. Nobody bought in for the golf course, you know, it's just,
Right.
it's kind of where the
Countryside's never
neighborhood's
been a
at.
part of Errol.
No.
It's never been a part of Errol, so
Right.
they wouldn't have a vote anyway.
Well, we're on the map,
Well, you're on the, I know, it shouldn't have been, actually, that corner.
so.
And there's two there that should not be part of Errol.
Oh,
They're not
did
part
I
of
not
Errol.
get that, that might have get the earlier map? Okay.
We're
I'll
definitely
get, I'll
on.
get
It's
them
just
out.
the square included them on Leicester and Shopkey, or that way, that corner.
Oh, okay,
There's two
okay.
communities there, and Countryside is one of them.
Okay,
That's
okay.
not part of Errol.
Okay, all right.
So they wouldn't, that 66 homes isn't included in the 2,500.
Okay, okay, all right.
But
Yes, ma'am.
But thank you for that.
Yeah,
update.
thanks, appreciate it.
So I think the one thing that I think would be valuable information that people would want to know is value of your home. So if we can provide that at some point, along with
Value
the
of home.
study, I think those kinds of things are going to be credible and educate people and help them to make some
Do
decisions.
do you think they would, that would be part of what their study, or do you think that's not
I
really?
think it's basically dealing with the golf operation, but
Okay.
right now, the value of your property, well, look, good example is, I talked with a real estate agent that sells a lot of homes in Errol, and they said when they built the hospital, that really helped increase the value of homes. And I'll cite you a good example. In my community, which is the Courtyards, we had a girl that bought a house 2 years ago for $214,000. She has a new job in Jacksonville that she's going to. She listed the house at $259,000, and the people bought it 2 hours after it went on the market and paid $10,000 over that. Because of the fact they worked at from what I understand, they work at the hospital as well. They want to live in a community that's easy access to the hospital. I think if you have this type of amenity that you can offer, the golf course and stuff, anytime you have that, it helps increase the property value of your homes.
Make sure you use the mic.
I think I
They
got my,
can't hear you online
Yeah.
very well.
can
Yeah.
you not hear me now?
Yeah, but you
No.
kind of.
Oh, I have a tendency to lean, okay, I'm
Dale's
sorry.
telling me he can't hear you.
Yeah.
Dale can't hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Can you hear me now, Dale?
But to Sarah's point earlier, Sarah, correct?
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about if you excluded a community, then you would be saying that, I mean, then you obviously don't want to take part in these amenities. So in order to take part, you would have to pay some type of social membership.
Correct.
Correct.
And maybe that's good information for those communities to have in advance. Like, you know,
What
start
would-
hearing that now. It's like, you know, if you choose not to be a part, that's fine. But remember, these amenities are for people who
Our members.
are members.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I would definitely be a member
And-
of Errol.
well, And the social membership would probably be at least as much as what your tax assessment would be, most likely, based on,
A lot of times it might be more.
well, I'm thinking of Country Club and Outdoor and a few places, so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, yeah, Norm?
It seems to me that the best time to do this polling would be after we start trying to market this idea. I mean, to go out and try to get a consensus now without any real good information, it doesn't.
Well, I tell you, so how about this for our next steps? If I'll reach out to Kleins about the $24,000 study. I'm gonna see if I can find, maybe I'll go to UCF and see if I can find some, you know, a class out there, some of these urban, UCF students, see if they can kind of draw us up something. I mean, the golf course is the golf course. I mean, that's pretty simple, but I mean, trying to get the amenities kind of set up, we could show that. Maybe I can find somebody that'll help us with that from UCF just as a, you know, it's a freebie, but, you know, college students trying to get a few credit hours in. I think we maybe could come up with somebody to help us with that. I mean, we're on a shoestring, that's, you know, and I agree with you. We want, it's hard to sell, you know, the sizzle if you don't have, you know, the steak to go with it. And right now, we don't even have either. So, so I'll do two things. So I'll call the Kleins about the $24,000 study, and I'll also talk to UCF, because we got a couple of real estate programs that we've been working with. They help us, and I could also reach out to the realtors. They've helped us on occasion on some things, and see if we can get some kind of a rendering. So we'll go back to that. If I'm gonna look at the rendering, do we want the clubhouse basically where it's at? Was that the consensus? I thought it was, not versus down at number 9 on the Highland?
Yeah, we don't want to move.
Okay,
that
okay.
far.
And I think what we'd want to do, based on COVID, we want to have a lot of outdoor space, outdoor patio, whatever, so
For the
people can,
view,
yeah,
yeah, one and-
eat outside. And
Mhm.
Okay, and so we got 2 big rooms. We got, I think we're talking about a little fitness room and then or a yoga room, whatever, and then obviously a pro shop. Yeah, Mark.
Possibly an area to set tents up, to have outdoor events.
Yeah.
You know, that can be air conditioned now. You can air condition a tent
Yeah,
with no problem.
okay.
But one of the other things I just wanted to say too, you know, we really, really need the information and a better sales tool, you know. And we need to have something that we can go out to the public with, that we can look at getting 60, 75% favorable vote instead of 51%.
Yeah,
So we want to have this thing be able to be overwhelmingly approved.
Right,
not just
no,
by 1%,
absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
And we don't have those tools. You know,
no,
we're-
I know
we're
it,
we're
nor do we
ways
have the
off
money
of it.
to build the tools, but, you know, we'll try to work on that plan. I think we just, you know, we got to get consensus on where we want to head, and then I think then, you know, we've got to get buy-in from the clients, you know, and then pricing, because that obviously will matter, and then try to go back out and sell it. But the problem is, how are we going to sell it today? I mean, you can't, you know, nobody wants you to knock on the door. They don't want to, you know, they don't want to see strangers, and they don't want to, you know, we can't have a big meeting at the VFW like we did, you know, 3 or 4 times. So
Can we do the outdoors at Field of Fame? Out in the
Yeah, but
outdoors?
you know, as hot as
Still
it,
hard.
I mean, quite honestly, I think until we get where we can have these bigger events, I think we need to start working on that, you know, a pamphlet that we can show people, not only what it's going to look like, but some of the costs associated, and, you know, not only capital but operating. I think we need to have that ready so that when the economy opens back up and we can have a meeting of 400, that we can bring in everybody. So I agree, but I don't know how you do it today. And you know, I mean,
Is there a way to get any grants to help with the?
we're talking about that. There's some grants that Bob thinks we can get for something like the playground equipment and some of the
Or even
amenities,
just these startup
trails.
costs, too, just the stuff that we're talking about trying to do.
Well, I think basically what you have to do with the grants is it has to be
In the mic.
incorporated into the guide.
Sorry.
It has to be, I'm sorry. It has to
Nobody
be
likes the mic.
incorporated into the guidelines of the recreation district as well to be eligible for those. And I have checked on that and done some research. The potential is there, but we have to make sure that legal develops the guidelines to allow us to be able to apply for that funding. And that funding can go for playground equipment, it can go for trails, it can go for shelters, it can go for, in some cases, actual land acquisition. But the mayor and I recently talked about that, and it is going to be tough with the tax situation that the state is in. I doubt if any of those funds are going to be available for a while. If this committee would like, Richard Singer is a gentleman that I have been working with the National Golf Foundation. If the committee is interested, I could see if maybe Mr. Singer, everybody take the opportunity to read it. I could ask Mr. Singer to come and give a brief overview at our next meeting if you're all interested.
Oh, he lives here?
He lives in Jupiter, but he would make the trip up.
Okay.
If you all would be interested, I could ask him to come up, tell you about the National Golf Foundation, the work and the studies that they've done, maybe bring a couple examples that might benefit us as well, and then answer a lot of the questions that I think that you all have in your mind about how to move forward with this study and the credibility that it would add to what our goal is long-term to be.
Hey, Norm, you had a question?
No.
Okay.
I thought the next steps were, we probably have to do that golf course feasibility, and then we got to get the environmental stuff, isn't it?
No, I don't think environmental. We got to get a price from the clients, because if you don't, you know, if he tells us $5 million, then
Right, but weren't they supposed to supply us with whatever?
yeah. I mean, we got to get the price, I
Studies
think,
and-
and then I think the environmental study, we've got to be a lot farther. I mean, because what if it goes, if it fails, then, you know.
But that's on them, right? Aren't we asking them to,
Oh, the environmental study?
I mean, they need to
I don't
do
know
that
typically
before-
how, whether it's the buyer or the seller that pays for
I was
it.
under the impression, at least when Signature H
Wouldn't it
was
make their
presenting,
property
that they
more
had
valuable?
the environmental studies done.
It was 2 years old. It should
But
be.
it would be
I
just,
understand
it would be
that.
fine.
There hasn't been any.
Yeah, it's,
movement.
if anything, it's gotten better.
No, that's not true, because diesel spills can be, you can actually put 2 foot of earth over top of diesel fuel spills.
Get up in the mic, Bob.
You got to get a mic, you got to get a
Oh,
mic.
I talked to an environmental engineer, and he said that's a pretty big, just because of the constant testing we have to do for the EPA requirements. And as we know, the whole movement in the country, it's going to be required that we take care of that, because everyone's more aware of environmental issues, and we should consider that as being buyers of the land, you know?
But
We
they-
should want to, being so close to the Wekiva Basin and being close to like the Water Management District, what they're trying to do with the drive and stuff, we should consider these issues too.
They
to
have a
take care of.
study, we just got to see if they'll give it to us. Yeah, Frank?
On that soil testing, Bob, you mentioned, I talked to the guys, they were out there on 6, when I ran out and talked to the guys. They were doing soil tests, but they
Right.
were just checking density to see how much weight the course could hold for those buildings they wanted to put up. And I asked him,
No,
is
they-
this
they-
environmental? And he says, no, we're just checking cancer. I said, I'm not even sure.
Frank.
Sorry, I'm not sure they ever did anything.
No, I think they did environmental, but
Yeah, I've never seen a copy of it, but the point that I'm making is, there will have to be updated studies done, but I don't think it should be the buyer's responsibility to pay for that.
Right.
I think it's the
the
seller's
seller,
responsibility.
right.
Now, we
Okay.
need to ask if we can review their study and see how in-depth it was.
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm sure, like, you talk about petroleum, probably at the, which we wouldn't want, well, I guess we.
I think arsenic is the bigger issue.
Arsenic, but where the old maintenance barn used to be, probably
Right,
got,
with
there's probably something out there, I would, and so, well, we'd have to make sure the seller, we're gonna take a look at that, okay? All right,
Andrew said they did have a study.
okay. So, will they share it with us?
That's another
I mean-
question.
I did want to change and go back to one thing with
Sure.
the location of the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And just to move it over a little bit, so you're looking, right now when you're looking, you're kind of looking at the buildings of Villa Lane. If you just move it over a tiny bit toward Errol Parkway, you're.
Toward west, yeah, west, yeah, right down the fairway, yep, I agree.
There's a big
Yes.
vast property
But
there.
not
Just
moving
move
it
it
all
over a
the way
little
Yep.
bit so we optimize
Yep.
the view and not
Yep.
looking at a neighborhood.
I agree, okay. All right. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Mayor, I still feel kind of like we're all dancing around in a circle here a bit when it comes to trying to establish what the recreational district, the property we want. I just feel like the Kleins at this point in time, if they've found someone that would develop the property or has an interest, they must have an idea of what they want to keep and how they would do it. And that's what confuses me a little bit is, have they not, do you think they don't have any concept of what they want to hold on to as far as the land and what they're willing to give up to the recreational district?
Well, they would give it all to the recreation district, just that you can't afford it, and, because then you can't develop any of the land that's recreation district. So, I think, he asked me, what does the recreation district want to buy? So I go back to him now and said, so I've got some things to ask him. So we're gonna, here's the property they want to buy. Here's some options on land that we might consider based on whatever the price is. But, I mean, theoretically, he could give us the land and he'd come out pretty good as far as the Golf 18 and the clubhouse, the modified clubhouse footprint.
But their ultimate goal is to keep enough property to develop as much land as they can to build as many homes and profit from this, am I correct?
Yes, but
lot of that land's
I think if you go back to, because when they were working with Signature H, and I never really thought it made any sense, was the spine road down, off of Vic, they were going to get 60 extra lots by doing that road, but it's going to cost them $5 or $6 million to make the road. It's like, you're spending more money than you're collecting in lots, but So, you figure a lot, normally you'd say 50, 60 grand for a buildable lot now? Is that a decent number?
I would say average, that'd be about right for an average home and a nice,
Yeah.
decent subdivision.
So 50, 60,000, so now you've taken off all the liability, the clubhouse, the golf course, and you've given them the ability to build 200 houses, so 200 times 50 is 10 million bucks. So they got the ability, to gross 10 million, and you're taking on 12 million in liabilities. That's a pretty good deal. So, that just off the cuff numbers, but,
And that's if the land was free.
yes,
That's a fun.
yes. Right.
They need us more than we need them.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Their houses aren't
It-
worth
it-
50, 60,000 with no clubhouse, golf
Right,
course, nothing.
Right.
So,
If they had a great developer ready to build,
They-
they would not be here.
Yeah.
But as far as taxes right now on that property, do they have to, not much?
It's green space, so they're not paying much. Yeah,
Okay,
it's,
including the buildings and so forth?
well, I don't even know if they've condemned them. I don't know
maintained
whether,
or nothing.
I don't know.
I was just
Yeah,
curious.
yeah.
They need to mow now.
Oh. Okay, so I tell you what we'll do, if anybody, any other discussion items, what I think I'll do is wait, and I'm gonna have Bob reach out to the National Golf Foundation
Richard Singer, Mr. Singer.
and see when he's available. And as soon as I get a date, I think same time, does that kind of work, 5:30? As soon as I get a date from Bob and National Golf, I will get you back an email. I'll get you one here by Friday, kind of what we determined tonight. And then we will, then we'll meet back as soon as they can get here. I'll have those questions, hopefully have the questions answered for you, from the Kleins, and we will, so hopefully in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll have another meeting. Yeah, Mark?
Just curious if there's any requirement that the clients need to be maintaining that property right
Yes.
now?
Yes.
To be mowing it, to keep
Yes.
the weeds down, to keep
Yes.
it somewhat respectable?
Code enforcement is
Yes.
supposed to be,
Yes.
Because I've heard from some people that it's not been
it's not.
very good, they're not doing a very good job of it.
Yeah, just call us and we'll come out and we'll force them to mow it. I mean, we want to be good neighbors, but on the other hand, they need to be good neighbors as well.
Yeah, so that requirement is there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do we know the condition of the irrigation system? Because that's a huge cost. Is
To-
it? The irrigation system, do we know the condition of that?
I've got some questions, I think they've all been ripped up. I don't think there's any irrigation.
It seems to me like it was either the front nine or the back nine.
Highland,
Yeah, I think the back nine, they started construction on that first.
They put in new
So I think
lines
they did
and.
Brass.
the
But then they
left
took the
taps in
sprinklers.
for
Then they
the
took the-
heads.
they
Heads
took the
off.
sprinklers.
Yeah.
They took the sprinklers,
Yeah,
but they
yeah.
left the taps in for the
Yeah,
heads.
yes, Steve?
That basically the Highland was completely replumbed. They have removed all the heads, is my understanding. Jimmy, the greenskeeper, they was told to take it out. It's all wired back to the building at the pool bar where the tennis shop is where all electronics are. Replacement of heads is fairly easy, but costly. I don't know what they did with the heads. That'd be up to what Signature H did with it, where they sold it off and took that money with them as in their whole scam process, but that's a personal opinion. But again, they were said at the time, they were looking at where the pumps sit now currently on the property, which is right there behind the tennis court, and the big pump station from the city is over
On
on
Vic.
Old Number 6. Those things need to be redone, some piping and plumbing and stuff to adequately do when they replumb the front side, to be able to have the flow and stuff, from what Jimmy, the greenskeeper, told me, and doing an upgrade. And so there'd be some things there, but again, the golf course redevelopment could do that, and of course, design the golf course in such a way that maybe you don't have as much irrigation. More like Pinehurst did.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I know Kenny Zell said is, you could shrink the footprint of the golf course, the irrigatable land, and to reduce the operating costs, which, we're still working on capital costs, but he's got some ideas on how to make that, it costs less to operate it, which then, then it takes fewer rounds of golf to break even, so.
Mayor, does the golf course renovation, the 5.5 million, does that include irrigation or that irrigation?
Oh, yeah,
is
that's
not-
everything.
That's
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mayor, if you could do me a favor, I know
Sure.
when I read the study, no, if it's at all possible, if the clients could provide us some of their revenue and operating expense numbers that they had, at least maybe even in the good years.
Okay.
Or if not,
Sure.
I think that would be something that they could use to assist them in
Okay.
completing their study.
Okay, all right. Anything else for the good of the cause? All right, thank you, everybody, for coming.
And move